Hiya, this is Joey Reynolds. It's the Reynolds Rap, and before it's a rap, we have to tell the truth in love. And I am from Buffalo. You've often heard me say I'm from Buffalo. Why can't I be from normal parents? In a joyful way, because it's a funny bit, But it's a serious city. We've had a black mayor for quite some time now, as you know, and nobody thinks anything of that. We don't talk about it as being anything unusual in that city. But I grew up we were the last white family in a black neighborhood on North Division Street, which is no longer there because there was an explosion in the factory at the end of the street, which blew up the whole neighborhood, not while we were living there. And I grew up in that environment. I belonged to the Buffalo Boys Club, where I started my radio career, actually, because I was on the third floor with the PA system. We played the records for the dances, and that's how we got into wanting to be on the radio. Nothing about color. We were colorless. Kids don't think that way anyway, as a rule, until someone says something. When I was later on in my career, I became very successful, became the #1 disc jockey in the whole country from Buffalo, which was a great platform for me, of course. I was where I was supposed to be. And I will tell you this, I will tell you everything that I know. First of all, my great idea on color is that I think in Crayola, the color that I prefer is the beige. I don't care about color. I never have. It was never an issue. Matter of fact, I was on TV Dance Party on Channel 2 in Buffalo, owned by NBC, WGR TV. So I give credentials so anyone can research it. And I got on the air, and I was on the teen committee. I did the news. I sat and did the news, the teen news. That was the beginning of my broadcast career. And I danced with a black girl on that show. And boy, did I get it when I got home. That was never accepted in those days, never. And even my father had said something that I'm going to be in trouble. People did not like that. We had terrific segregation, but not aggravation. The aggravation came from the outside, actually. I went from Buffalo to Cleveland to Detroit to Philly. Now, do you think there was a black trail there? Well, let me tell you two of the significant ones in my industry. Working for ABC in Detroit, Motown, mostly black artists. Then moving along to Phillies, and all of the various record companies, with the exception of Frankie Avalon and Fabian and the white kids. But we were a black community, and we had a very big interaction with the public in radio and in records, long before it was acceptable to have this Black Lives Matter. Because to me, I'm in that community, Black lives always mattered because lives mattered. To be honest about it, and all of this is honest, I don't want to qualify it, but I want to tell you that today we're out of baby formula. Do you think there's a black baby formula for black kids and a white baby formula? No. Why? Because it's ridiculous. The kids are kids, and black or white. It's not about that. It's about poverty, maybe. I mean, that would be my assessment. My sisters still both live in Buffalo, which is a good community, I think. My friends own television stations there. I think it's a great place to be from and to live in. It's a great family city. Buffalo, New York, is the city of wonderful people and good neighbors. City of good neighbors, they call it. Now, the people who ran ABC television from Capital Cities Broadcasting were really from Buffalo, a lot of those guys. And the first rock and roll disc jockey was actually the Hound Dog. He was in Buffalo. Alan Freed was in Cleveland. They both competed for the title of the King of Rock and Roll. Alan coined the phrase rock and roll, and the Hound Dog continued to push in the black community. I mean, he was a white guy that worked out of the black clubs with his broadcast. We were relegated to the upstairs at the auditorium, the Buffalo the main auditorium, where we had hockey and and various activities. But the smaller room was the one where we brought James Brown and those acts. Elvis was in the main room, that kind of thing. We did have separation somewhat. In that particular city, I will tell you that there has not been an overt anger. I don't think. There's always been a competition, and there's been a lusting for titles. Back in the day when I was there, we had O.J. Simpson was on the Bills, so was Cookie Gilchrist, very fine player. Yet we had Jack Kemp, and Jack Kemp became a congressman, and he helped to author some of the finances for President Reagan years later. So there's a lot of history in Buffalo. We gave the country 2 presidents, took 1 back, and there's a different vibe that goes on in Buffalo, New York. It's got neighborhoods, but so does Chicago, and so does New York, and so does Cleveland, and Detroit. Detroit with Hamtramck Place, which is very Polish, and yet you go to certain neighborhoods and they're very black. You go to this neighborhood and it's very German. I mean, this is what we did with industrial cities, and we don't have them anymore like we did, because we farmed a lot of the work out to Europe, and also in later days to China and other Asian countries. We really have done a lot of damage. I like the idea of how we are presenting ourselves on the media right now. I think we moved a little too fast on the inclusion. That makes everybody who is of that persuasion nervous, and it stokes the coals. Plus, don't forget, we've had a couple of years of solitary confinement with this pandemic, and it gave everybody a lot of time to create good and craziness. It's good and bad. You get both when you are living on this planet. Yet if you rise above the planet and you look down and you see this beautiful blue jewel from afar, which is why we want to space travel, even though we don't have a destination yet, but we want to look down and see and admire this paradise. This planet has everything on it. And if we would stop fighting over it, we might do a little better in Israel and Palestine. I mean, what are we fighting over? I'm jumping to this place for a minute. The Sir Laurence Olivier in his film, when he was talking about the desert and the Arabs, and skillfully it was said, he was talking to a guide taking him to the sheik, and the guide said to him, yes, why do you want to go and see the sheik? And he said, why do you want me to see him? And he said, well, because we want weapons. And he says, oh, you want guns? He says, no, we want weapons. And he says, what is your interest? He says, we love the sand. And he said, no, you don't. You love what's under the sand, meaning the oil. So, that's become a big issue, is to have this money tree that we've grown in this country. And I don't think we've mastered it. We've grown so fast in the electronics. We've moved so quickly in knowing everybody's stuff and in making judgments on television. The media has really done a lot of harm. I'm part of it, part of the media. And what we've done is we've looked so much for ads, like the ad community owned by advertising agencies. That's where the television and the radio come from. They come from the ad community. They want to have ratings so they can make money with commercials. That's what we do. We do that for a living here. And unfortunately, it got too big, too fast. It made a lot of left turns and left some people out. And I think that's now we're playing Operation Catch Up. That's what we're doing. So as we move along in this discussion, and at this point it's one way because it's just me on my little throne here, we have to start to, like Rodney King had a long time ago, why don't we all just get along? Let's forget about how we are losing ground on a certain believability when we were raised a certain way. And we are going to have to change. We have 5 great senses, and there's an extra sense. The extra sense is conscience, which comes from the 5 of them if you use the instruments properly. And then the other sense that we get is compassion. We get to have an understanding of each other, and we get to look at other people the way that we look at ourselves. So we have to like ourselves, or love ourselves, as it says, and you have to love your neighbor as you love yourself. You've heard that one. So as I wipe my feet off on my way back to Buffalo, and I'm very proud to be from there. It's a great city, and I love the people of Buffalo, and I never thought about color. Never. It didn't enter it was never in the picture. Matter of fact, all my life, the most important people who have assisted me the most, if I think about it, would probably be 50-50. It'd be blacks, and I've had a black engineer for 20 years on the radio, and oh, come on, I don't even have to go into it. It's my father said, just live and let live. That's what he always said. That's what I'm doing. So, racism, years ago. Look at that. Look at that picture. How long ago was that? Yeah, I saw this coming, and I don't like it, and I hate this moment right now that we're sitting on the air and we have to talk about tragedy and the loss of life of people who didn't do anything wrong. That's judgmental. It's a Joey Reynolds rap.